Hello, brilliant entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 350, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/350. In today's episode, I'm answering a listener question that came in from Christine Collins, and her question is relating to whether something should be free or paid and how to decide the difference between the two. So if you've been wondering how much to give away for free, how to decide whether you should charge for something or use it for list growth, this is going to be super helpful for you. Let's dive in. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. A quick shout out and thank you to Christine for popping this question in for the podcast. Christine Collins can be found on Instagram. She is at Christine_Collins_MS, and her website is Transform Create. And Christine sent through a question to the podcast, which goes like this. Hi Tash, how do I decide on the depth of topic per setting when it comes to creating content? Plus, how do I work out if an idea should be free or should be paid? So this is that decision point of whether it's going to be an online course or what, do you make a free webinar out of it? Do you turn something into a paid class? Do you pop it into a podcast? Do you make a reel on Instagram? What actually fits for this piece of content? And how do you decide not only how to deliver that piece of content, but also whether it should be free or whether it should be paid? So I've got 6 little pieces of advice here that will help you to understand and decide, and also to help you make the most of that as a strategic asset in your business. So first and foremost, every piece of content that you create has a specific job to do. And so if you have an idea for a piece of content or something that you want to share, we need to first ensure that whatever you decide to do with it, you give it the right structure and it's structured in order to fit the job that it needs to do. For a lot of people, they're so focused on what they want to share that they have not crafted the way that they share it in a way that is structured to complete a strategic job in their business. So if we think about your content as an asset, rather than just as an activity, right? Creating content is something that you just do over and over again. If you think about each piece of content that you create as an asset, then that asset needs to do its job in terms of generating some form of return. So just like if you were to purchase a printer, its job is to print. If you were to purchase a vehicle, you'd want to ensure that you purchase a vehicle that is appropriate for the job that it needs to do in your business. So it's exactly the same when it comes to creating content. And I think for a lot of people, that's actually the biggest trap that they fall into, is they're so excited by the idea, they're so excited by that piece of content that we don't take that minute to just consider, what job do I need this content to do? Because the way I would then present it, the structure I'd give to it would actually be different depending on where it goes. So that's number one, is just remembering that whatever you decide to do with it, ensure that you're understanding and you make a clear decision of what job you need it to do and structure it accordingly. So then the second thing that I focus on, and the second decision point that comes up for me, is where do I have gaps or blockages in my client attraction process that this piece of content could fill? So for example, your client attraction process has those stages of reaching people, nurturing a relationship, generating leads, converting the sale, and then delivering on the promise, right? And so if you are under delivering inside a course or program that you're already selling, then it could fulfill the role of delivery. If you have a gap in what you're delivering and there's something in particular that you need to deliver, that you need to help people with, and that you want to be charging for, then delivery could absolutely be the gap in the client attraction process that you're fulfilling. That would then make it something that people would pay for. But for a lot of people, where they're falling down in their business is not in delivery. And if you're listening to this podcast in particular, I would hazard a guess that you don't under-deliver. You're not currently under-delivering. You do not have gaps in the delivery stage of your client attraction process. So if the gap that you're trying to fill is a reach issue, right? You've got a reach issue with your client attraction process, then I would argue it needs to be free, ungated content. If you have a nurture issue in your client attraction process where you're not building strong enough relationships with your audience, then you might make it a piece of content that you either gate or have ungated, i.e. do people give you their email address or not? But you use that to build a stronger relationship with your audience and help them to move forward towards their goals. If you have a lead generation issue in your business, then you use that piece of content to generate leads, whether that be by moving your audience closer to that light bulb of being ready to invest, or by making it something that people can only access if they self-identify as a lead. And if you have a conversion issue, then I would create that piece of content as a conversion event, like a webinar, running a challenge, or potentially doing it as a paid lead magnet. So that would work for lead generation or conversion. Now, I have an opinion on charging for lead magnets, and I understand that low ticket offers and self-liquidating offers and paid masterclasses are absolutely hot right now, and they do have a place in our client attraction process. And absolutely we can make them work, but for most people that I am working with, the job in their client attraction process that they're wanting to achieve is actually increasing the quantity of leads that they're getting, or the quantity of people onto their mailing list significantly. And so for me, when it comes to paid lead magnets, I always ask the question, would I rather have 10 people pay me $20 for this? Or would I rather have 200 people grab this for free? Because in reality, that's usually the ratio that I experience when I put a price tag on something or not. And so if I then decide, well, I'd rather have 10 people pay me $20 for it. Well, that's a launch that I would need to do to make that $200. Could I make that $200 easier with some of my existing products? Yeah, actually I could. And so it helps me to just reconcile whether paid lead magnets is a priority strategy for me at this point in time or not. And as I get into scaling up my Facebook ad spend to over the $2,000 to $3,000 a month mark, that is when I have flagged strategically that would be a time where I might charge for high value but low ticket offers for people to be able to learn from me or to work with me or to come along to live events. So I know strategically I've made a decision, and so I can kind of blinker myself or stay focused on my strategy and not get caught up in and lured into some of that shiny object stuff, because there are so many people out there who are sharing my Facebook ads are free because they're paid for by my low ticket offer. But it's taken them 9 months to craft and refine and perfect that process. And if I was to invest that same amount of time into improving my launches of the Takeoff program, I would make a far more significant amount of money. And so we want to make sure that we're really strategic and understanding what is the client attraction process gap that we're trying to fill. Where are we looking to really tighten up or increase the number of people who are moving from one stage to another? So that is number 2. Number 3 is remembering the difference between information and transformation. And so this answers the question of like, how much do I give away for free? And you may have heard me say on the podcast before that I am pretty unthrottled and unbridled when it comes to how much information I give away for free, because I recognize that people can access information anywhere for free. The internet is full of free information, and I want to provide valuable free information to my audience. But I also know that the reason that people invest to work with me is not to access information. It is because they want to achieve a transformation. And so if I separate out my content in that way, is this giving people information or is this facilitating a powerful and significant transformation? That helps me to make a decision about how much detail goes in, whether I charge for it or not, whether it belongs inside one of my paid programs. It really helps me to make an informed and strategic decision. So really thinking about that information versus transformation helps to understand, well, how much of this do I give away for free? Now, one thing I will say to that is that even though I say, I don't hold back on the information that I give away for free, I do also give away information in a way that is effective in helping people. So sometimes people hear me say, well, I just give away all the information, right? I am unabashedly out there sharing information and I don't hold back. I say that all the time. But sometimes people misconstrue that and think, okay, well, if I'm running a webinar, then I need to jam as much information into that webinar as possible. But actually, that's not how you run an effective webinar. Think about the webinars you've been to where you just feel like your brain is at capacity and there's too much information that's been shared all in one big go and you can't digest it and you can't implement it. Well, that's not doing your audience a favor either. So even though I talk about I don't hold back when it comes to giving out free information, I'm not meaning that I am dumping a ton of information on people all at once that they can't process and can't do anything with. So that doesn't mean I have to jam as much as possible into a single webinar. I am also mindful of adult learning principles and helping people to actually implement and ensuring that I'm presenting that information in a digestible and implementable way. So I just wanted to touch on that because I have had a few questions about that inside the Takeoff program actually. And people are saying, you say don't hold back, give all the information away for free. But I don't mean give it all away at once. And I don't mean give it all away without thinking about where it fits in your client attraction process or what its job is for your business. So yes, I give away that information freely, but I also do it in a structured and strategic way. Okay, so that is number 3, is think about, is this facilitating a transformation or is this presenting some very well presented information? That also helps me to make a decision. Number 4 is, what is your model here? What is your model for how the different things that you have that people can pay you for? My model is free or big. In most cases, I have very few things that are low ticket. And for me, that's because I know selling something for $25 takes just as much, if not more work, as selling something for $2,500. So which one would I rather invest my strategic time into? It's selling the thing for $2,500. Also, when I focus that way, it actually means I have far more time to create amazing free content like this podcast, and I'm not tied up in creating lots and lots of little things for sale all the time, because everything that's paid needs marketing and sales. And so many people underestimate how much marketing sales it takes. They think, well, if I have something for $2,000 and I have something for $20, well, the $20 thing is going to have far higher conversion rates. But that's actually not true. In most cases, the conversion rate is fairly similar, and it definitely isn't 10 times the conversion rate. My conversion rate for the Takeoff program is between 3 and 7%, depending on which webinar I run, how much I've been running ads, how many people come into that launch. But when I launch my planning system, which is $295 on early bird, my conversion rate is between 3 and 5%. So, and that is not because there's less people in my audience that want it or need it. That's not because I don't do as good a job. I think that my sales process and my conversion into that is actually brilliant. But it's because the price is only one factor in the decision-making process. And so many people assume cheaper will make more sales, but that is not always the case. So in my model of business, I would rather just give away all of that stuff for free and grow my audience significantly with lots and lots of free content, create a lot of trust and build a big, strong relationship with my audience, and then invite people into making a bigger investment and working with me in a really handheld way, in a really high touch way. And then it just makes it so much easier for my decision making. It also means that I don't end up back where I was in 2017 with 36 different paid ways that people could work with me. Because when I had a business model that was that way, I was constantly jumping from promo to promo, from launch to launch. I often had 2 or 3 things all in launch at one time. That was confusing for my audience. It was hard work for me. And it meant that I was neglecting the things that brought in the most income. In 2017, the thing that brought in the most income in my business was the Takeoff program. And yet I hadn't actually done a full launch of the Takeoff program that year because I was so busy launching and promoting the $20 thing, the $200 thing. If I'm honest with myself, I felt like it was an easier ask to ask someone for the $20 thing or the $200 thing than it was to make that ask for the Takeoff program. So me selling low ticket things was actually a very, very tricksy avoidance strategy on my part. My sneaky little brain was trying to help me avoid charging for and selling the Takeoff program because I did have some wobbles about charging a significant amount of money. I felt like that was a big ask of my audience. And anytime I felt wobbly about making that ask, I had a little low ticket offer that I could focus on instead. And so it was actually a big mindset issue for me that led me to the pathway of creating a lot of low ticket offers. And so in order to prevent myself getting, sneakily tricking myself that, no, this is a great strategy, when in fact it was actually just a mindset block, I just adopted the model of it's free, or it's one of my signature programs. And that means that I have more time and space to focus on launching those particular programs, but it also means I have more time and space to create amazing free content for you as well. So I feel like it's a win-win. And I also know that that means that when people do decide to invest with me, they know how much amazing connection they're going to get. They know this is going to be something that I commit to as well as they commit to. And it just feels like it's a far more congruent to the way that I like working with people and the way that I like delivering on results for people as well. So what is your model? And I'm not saying a low ticket model is a bad model. There are people that I absolutely love and adore who have a low ticket model, and their launches of their low ticket things are just for a week, they'll start talking about this low ticket thing. Their model is that they just spend ads and they just tweak and finesse ads. That's a really great way of having a low ticket model as well. But for me, the time and energy that goes into tweaking and finessing those ads, and also the profit margin on those low ticket products, it just doesn't make as much sense to me as the model that I have, because with the model that I have, for me, it has a significant return on investment, significant profit margins, and it also means that I get to work with clients in the way that I want to, which is in things like the Takeoff program, being highly connected with those people, helping and supporting them to get those outcomes rather than just giving them something to go and watch on their own and they need to work it out for themselves. So what is your model? What is the way that you prefer to work with people? Because then that's also going to inform whether you decide to charge for it or whether you decide to give it away for free. Know what your model is, know what the strategy is to really make that model thrive for you, and then you can start adding more products to that model. All right, number 5 is, am I in a long-term growth focus or a short-term growth focus? Because if it's a short-term growth focus, right, there are certain times in your business where you just need a cash injection. Then if I'm really focused on short-term income and I'm looking to make a quick, cheeky $5,000, then it might make more sense to make it a low-ticket offer. there were times in my business where I did have that happen. I was like, I have this really cool thing that I want to share with people. They are asking me, begging me to do something about it. And I'm confident that I would be able to sell it for $49. So I'm going to go out there and do a short-term cash injection focus and go out there and aim to sell 100 spots in this thing for $50 and make a quick $5,000, right? So that to me is a very short-term focus. Whereas if it's a long-term focus for me, my number one driver of long-term growth in my business is list growth. And I'm going to get far more people on my mailing list if I give it away for free and have it as a gated freebie than I would get onto my mailing list if I charge for it. That is just the fact, right? That is just a fact for me. I know that there's an argument. Some people say, if you sell low ticket, then they're far more likely to buy the next thing from you quickly. But in my experience, in order for that to work, we often need to tell people, well, the thing that you've just bought isn't the real answer. The real answer is buy this high ticket thing. And that doesn't feel like it's in alignment for me. That's not the type of model of marketing that I like to use. And so I would rather have long-term strategies to grow my audience and trust and know that the longer someone's been on my mailing list, the more likely they are to buy one of my products anyway, rather than put pressure on this thing to get that upsell quickly in order to get that return on investment of my time as well as the money I put into it as well. So are you looking at short-term growth with this piece of content or long-term growth? And that will also impact the decision that you make about whether it's free or paid. Number 6, this is the final piece of advice that I have for you, and that is ultimately you get to choose. And the best thing you can do is choose quickly and get it made. I was at the retreat with Denise Duffield-Thomas at her Rose Farm the first time I went in 2020. And we were having this conversation in our little masterminding circle. And one of the attendees was saying, well, I just don't know if it would make more money if I did it as a small group program, but it was high ticket, or if I did it as a more accessible price, but I did it as like a course, or I could do it as a membership. And I just don't know which is going to make more money. And someone said it would make more money if it existed. And it was just like a beautiful moment. We all burst out laughing. And it's a principle and it's a statement that I say over and over and over again now. And ever since then, like, it absolutely rings true for me. And I even talked about this in training that I did on creating online courses. Like, it will make more money if it exists, and you can make changes and you can adjust as you go. I know people who have had free things that they've then turned into paid things. I know people who've had paid things that they then turned it into a free thing. Ultimately, you just need to make a decision and move forward. And ultimately, it is absolutely your choice whether you decide to give this away for free or whether you decide to charge for it. So trust yourself, make the decision, get it out there, knowing that ultimately you can change your mind even after you've launched it out into the world. So don't be afraid to just choose action over perfection and let it out into the world. Let us benefit from that amazing content rather than getting caught up in that perfectionism and it never seeing the light of day. So they are my 6 tips for you on how to make that decision and decide what you're giving away for free, what you're giving away for paid, and where it might fit in that client attraction process for you. Now, I also want to say that, as I said, my model is make free stuff, make free stuff, make free stuff. I'm also very strategic about sometimes the time where I'm really excited to create something is not the same as the time when strategically I should be releasing it out into the world. So I have retreats that I go on where I'm doing a lot of content creation, or I have ideas for new freebies and I just in the moment decide, you know what, I'm just going to make it and record it right now. But I still have a bunch of free resources that I've created, a bunch of free content that I've created in the past that I still haven't actually released it out into the world yet. Because I don't need the time when I make it to be the same as the time when I launch it or the time when I release it. I don't want the fact that I've made this thing yesterday to be the main reason why I need to tell the world about it today. So I have got out of the process of being in perfectionism about what it needs to look like or how it needs to exist. And I've gone out and I've just done the thing and I've created it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea to distract my audience from the thing I was already focused on by then releasing this extra new free thing in the meantime. So you can also use this as creating a bank of new free resources and new free content that is there and readily available when you have a gap in between launches, or when you have a need to get that out into the world and have it do that job in your client attraction process. And the reason why I wanted to mention that as well is because I think sometimes we don't get strategic about distribution, right? There's a break between when content creation and content distribution. They're actually two different events in your business. And so just because you've created it doesn't mean you need to release it straight away. And that also leads me to let you know that actually I do have a bunch of free resources and a bunch of free content behind the scenes that I have in my business. And I have plans for when they're going to be released and what I'm going to do with them. But given that this is the end of this podcast episode, number 350, I want to actually give all of you an invitation as a listener of this podcast. I want you to come over on Facebook or Instagram and DM me and let me know, like, what do you need help with, or what's a question that you have, or what's something that you want to know how to do. And if I have a resource for it, I'll send it to you, because chances are I have something that can help. And if I don't, I know other people who have something that can help, or I can just answer your question there straight in the DMs. So this is a special little invitation for you. Just let me know, Tash, I've been listening to episode number 350, and I wanted to take up your invitation to send me something for free or give me something that might be able to help me with this. I'm really struggling with XYZ, or I don't know how to A, B, and C. Let me know. Send me a DM. I'm at Tash Corbin on Instagram. I'm at Tash Corbin Coaching on Facebook. I'll make sure the links to that are all with the show notes of this episode at tashcorbin.com/350. But make use of me and my free resources. I am here to support and help you. And that's my model, right? That's my model, is being able to support lots and lots of people for free, because I have a model where the investment to work with me is a higher ticket model, but it means that it's far more hands-on and far more mentoring based rather than self-study focused. But it frees up so much of my time to be able to create those free resources for you. So I don't necessarily want you to have to wait for them just because it's not the right time in my launch structure. So if there's something that you need help with, come and let me know. And if I have something, I'll give it to you. If I don't have something, but I think it's a great idea, sometimes my best content creation times are in response to a request. So I might even say, hey, that's such a good idea. I don't have anything, but I'll make it. I'll get back to you. But yeah, get in touch. I'm so happy to share information, free resources, and advice with you absolutely for free as part of being part of this community. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Heart Centered Business Podcast. Thank you so much to Christine for such a brilliant question. And as I said, if you don't follow Christine, I highly recommend that you do. She's absolutely brilliant. And until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.